Let's talk some sports, baby.
Taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by Jones.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
So last weekend, the sports world got its first taste of return with UFC 249 in Jacksonville. We got more UFC events that are going to take place this week, and NASCAR is expected to race again soon. However, for the four big sports leagues, it's not as easy. The NFL has gracefully moved through the COVID situation, but they got the luxury of time. Major League Baseball should have started in late March. The NBA has been on hold for over 2 months now, and both leagues are scrambling to find a way to restart sooner rather than later. So now Major League Baseball is roughly shooting for July 4th with an 82-game regular season, and they'll have an expanded playoff field with 14 teams. Meanwhile, the NBA is expected to drop a decision in the next few weeks with a wide range of possibilities from canceling the season to playing all the remaining games at a single location. So the question here is, which league is under more pressure to get back and why?
Well, first I want to caveat by saying both leagues probably, but listen, it's the NBA, and this is not even close. It's the NBA by a mile. One, the NBA is more popular. It generates more money. And the NBA actually got its season suspended while it was in season, which, it affected all parties that's involved in the NBA machine. I think the likes of the MLB, the NFL, the NCAA football, they all caught a break when it comes to preparing for the COVID-19. Because it's a lot easier to prepare for something before the season than it is during the season. So I think they caught a break. They can adjust. I like to liken it to some leagues was proactive. That's where MLB is right now. And then some leagues was reactive. And that's where the NBA is right now. It is what it is. You pay a lot of people a lot of money to figure that out. But it's definitely the NBA, especially if the NBA cannot figure out how to carry on the season with a playoff. If they don't play a playoff, are you kidding me? The NBA might not play a playoff, and we all know the playoffs is big business for any sport. That's big business. So to not be able to play a playoff, that is going to have huge implications for next year and the year after and so on and so forth, where the MLB, like I said, they get a break. So they already made some adjustments due to COVID-19. Hey, we're not going to play 100 and whatever games. We're going to play 82. Hey, we're going to let more teams into the playoffs. They can adjust as the months go by. They could just keep adjusting until opening day. Get your popcorn ready, folks. Where the NBA don't have that luxury. I mean, right now they're trying to figure out, as you was telling me earlier, they got 2 locations that they're looking at. They're trying to figure out, do they want to play in Las Vegas? Do they want to play in Florida? How can we do this and maintain safety? What happens to the teams that was on their way into the playoffs that might not get to fight their way for a final spot? What happened to them now? What do they do? Like, baseball doesn't have that word right now. Are they losing money? Yeah, they lose money. But nothing to the effect of what the NBA is dealing with right now. They're just trying to save the rest of their season. So I definitely think it's the NBA at this point. But like I said, I think the MLB, they are dealing with all the sports leagues in general are dealing with some problems. But listen, the MLB ain't worried about their playoffs getting canceled yet. They ain't worried about not seeing the season at all, whereas the NBA is. And like I said, the NBA is. I understand. Don't take this as a slight to baseball, but the NBA is more popular than Major League Baseball. Let's be serious here. If you took a poll right now and you said, which sport do you want to see come back out of the NBA and MLB, it'll be hard pressed for me to believe that MLB will win that conversation. America pastime, I got it, but the NBA is a lot more popular. People want to see the NBA a lot more. They got the stars. The best player in MLB is possibly Mike Trout, and you couldn't tell me what Mike Trout looked like if he walked in between the screen right now. Whereas you got these stars in the NBA, like they can't even go outside in their front yard and pick up a newspaper. So we know that, I mean, it's not an even balance in between the two sports. So with all that said, the NBA is under more pressure, and I hope it come back.
Yeah, just a quick point on the Mike Trout piece. You might recognize Mike Trout if he was in the playoffs, but Angels don't have a habit of getting there, so maybe that's part of the issue with that. But yeah, I completely agree with you in this sense. The pressure here is on the NBA, and I think it'd be a black eye for the league overall if March 11th was the end and the Rudy Gobert test is our lasting memory of this NBA season, and there's just no champion. It's just a suspended season, and it's we know the NCAA tournament was canked, and that's tough to hear. That's still tough to swallow, but I mean those are still college students at the end of the day. These are professionals, and they get paid to do this. So I mean this would just be it's hard to imagine that the season not getting back in some way, shape, or form, based on a board of governors meeting that they had this week. That I think there's some positive energy now that this will get back underway. They're going to figure this out. They're still going through details. There's still some planning and studying that's going on. From what I've gathered, 22 of 30 NBA facilities will be open by Monday. That's certainly got to be a positive step in the right direction. But and this is something I've talked about pretty much the entire time. This is going to be all about testing. Because you got to ensure the safety of your employees. That's got to be a major priority. You can't just have, people not tested and you don't know if someone's infected, because there's a lot of people that are asymptomatic that they don't have symptoms, so they're just going to assume everything's good. But you still have to test everybody, because being asymptomatic, you can still spread it to someone else, and that's, you don't want that to happen. So they got to take great care, make sure they got the testing capacity. And ultimately, I think that's something that they can have happen. I think that's reasonable within the next month that we can see that. And I think the two locations they're looking at, Orlando and Vegas, and we had this discussion earlier. I don't know if this is something the NBA is entertaining, but perhaps Eastern Conference teams play your tune-up games in Florida and your playoffs. You could have the entire Eastern Conference playoffs in Florida, and the Western Conference could have Vegas. And the goal, whatever tune-up regular season games that you have, or whatever they're going to, refer to them as, that just have no interconference games. There's going to be no Miami playing LA, no Boston playing Houston, none of that action. It's just going to be all conference versus conference until the NBA Finals. I think that'd be something that's interesting. One thing I don't want to have happen is everybody playing in Vegas, and every tip time is like 10:30 at night. Let me stand up to 1:30 to watch every game. That's just, that's just a little East Coast bias, but we'll see. But I think this is going to happen for the NBA. I think they need it to happen. I think to take it even further to players, I think LeBron James needs this. When you talk about legacy, this is an opportunity for LeBron to win another championship and continue to cement his legacy and strengthen his argument among he's a top 2 player of all time right now. And of course, some people already have their minds made up and they're probably never going to change. But to people who are still open-minded, you can sway some more votes winning your 4th championship. That's a reasonable thing to have happen. And to have the season just end right now, that's got to hurt. That's got to hurt in some ways. It's got to hurt LeBron fans who believe he still needs a little bit more. But that's definitely less of importance in this overall thing. The number one importance has got to be the safety, and it's got to be the testing. That's got to be what they have to take into consideration the most and make sure they've got that down pat. But meanwhile, in Major League Baseball, it's not like it's unimportant to these guys, but it's an opportunity for them, because if they can get their sport up and running before basketball gets back, it's an opportunity for Major League Baseball to have the stage to themselves, so to speak, among the major sports leagues. And the NBA would be their only competition right now. And I know baseball has, they have the summertime where they're really the only sport that's going on, but it's kind of that kind of time is kind of looked as the off season for sports in general. The time between the NBA finals ending and the NFL and college football getting going, it's kind of like a dead zone. Like if you're not watching baseball, you're really not doing much. But this is a real chance for Major League Baseball because you talk about the words pent up demand are getting used more and more frequently in terms of the economy. There's pent up demand right now for sports. And I'm gonna tell you, baseball, regardless if you're kind of like, baseball is boring or whatever, they're gonna be more people watching baseball because they're just looking for something. They need something. So it's a great opportunity for baseball to have an uptick in ratings and have an uptick in interest. There's obviously some things they're still looking at. They're kind of in the same situation as the NBA as far as getting everything up and running. But Major League Baseball is looking at playing using home stadiums for at least in places where local governments have, relinquished some of the restrictions and open things up. That's something interesting because that's still going to entail a lot of travel. I think it would be smarter to kind of go back to what, Florida and Arizona are the spring training locations. I would look at a single or two locations for playing these games to just decrease the travel. Not sure that's where they're going, but testing a huge issue that they're looking at as well. They want to be able to test players multiple times a week. They're looking at having a lab in Utah run those tests. It's a lab that's being strictly used to run COVID-19 tests. And another key point in all these things is we know this thing got shut down because of one positive test, because this is what happened to Rudy Gobert and everybody just shut this thing down real quick. And it's already, to my understanding, it's already been talked about that a single positive test isn't going to shut everything down. Now, it's unclear how many positive tests would need to occur for both these leagues to kind of like, oh, well, that's a little too much. Now we got to pump the brakes again. But I think that's a positive development. One positive test isn't going to kill this thing. There's still going to be steps made in place. You're still going to have your quarantines. They're going to need, at least in baseball's perspective, they're going to need to get back on the playing field. You're going to have to test negative twice in a 24-hour span before they're going to feel comfortable putting you on a field to play. But that's a positive sign I'm looking at, that one single negative test isn't going to blow this thing up and shut everything down. I think that's a positive thing.